Hello there, one and all, and welcome to episode 393 of Love at First Sight with me. Let's try that again. Welcome to episode 393 of Love at First Scent. Love at First Saint would probably be a different sort of video. With me, Persolaise, live on YouTube as always. And I need to say that there are already quite a few comments. A lot of you are having a little chat amongst yourselves. But the first comment did go to Jeff, who says, the C word. What is going on? Well, you will find out what is going on. Thank you very much for tuning in, whether you're watching live or you're watching the recording. And regardless of when and how you're watching, feel free to ask a question, leave a comment. I usually get round to all of them a couple of days after they've been posted. Please do consider subscribing to this channel as well if you haven't already done so. And if you subscribe, click on the little bell so that you get notifications of new videos coming your way. What is the plan for today? Well, you've probably worked out that we're going to be trying to cover quite a few newish releases in this video, including one from the C word, and we will get to it straight away. But let's see who else is here. Oh, gosh, we have been having some storms here today in the south of England, so I don't know whether that's the electrical supply going on the blink. This does not bode well, as long as the internet is still okay. Or is it the C word gremlins that are having their way? Oh, okay. We'll see how it goes. If we have to do the video in darkness, then I will do my very best to explain how expressive the forehead is being. Excuse me. Maybe we should just do that. Let's try that, and if that doesn't work, then we will just switch it off. Okay. So for the sake of all our right, but now you're going to have to put up with a massive shadow there. That's very, very annoying. Right, how does that look, folks? Spooky. The gods of perfume are expressing displeasure, says Proto Society. This is the heavens warning you about Creed, says Eco Jock. Yes, let's try one more time. Let's try one more time. Just as well, these things. This is when you need a production team. And if it still isn't playing ball, then we will just stop that. Is it going to work? Let's see. Jeff says, just recently saw your rundown of the best scents of the 2010s, where Max 40 selected Creed's Tabarome. Interesting. Happy Halloween, says Dog Meat. Yeah, stop before time. I wonder what is actually going on, because that light has been fine for the last 45 minutes or so while I've been setting up. Apocalyptic lighting for the Big C review, says Tripty. Yes, maybe we need to get that one out of the way and see if the light starts behaving. But that has completely thrown me off track. So yeah, we've got these four that I would like to do with you today, as is becoming kind of standard practice with these videos now. I have also pre-sprayed all four of them so that I can talk to you a little bit about their mid stages, about their dry down, and they were sprayed about, what I suppose, about an hour and a half, an hour and 3/4 ago. So definitely gives you a sense, will give us a sense of what the dry down is going to be like. Purple Sun in the Sky says, it's fine, you look handsome. Thank you very much. But I think that is very kind. This lighting setup being amateurish anyway, I try to make it as good as I possibly can. But yeah, we'll just have to see how we go. Helter Skelter Jones says, I had the new Creed on a blotter, left it overnight in the kitchen, and it was still pungent in the morning. Okay, so let us talk about the new Creed. This new Creed here, if you don't know what it's called, you won't be able to tell just from this little sample card. This new Creed is called Carmina or Carmina. There is a little bit of a story that goes with how I came across this sample. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to switch this off because this is going to keep bugging me. Right, off you go. I'm pretty sure that I was invited to the press night, the press sort of preview of this particular scent, but I couldn't make it. But then, as it happened, what I'd completely forgotten was that the way that it was being presented to the press was then open to the public, because what it was, there's a new exhibition space, or newish exhibition space in London, just by Marble Arch, called Frameless, which I guess is just one of these spaces that is, available for rent if people want to put on exhibitions. And I think this is where these installations to do with the new Creed were set up, and I'm pretty sure that that's what I was invited to. So as I say, couldn't make it, but just the other day, just a couple of days ago, Madame Persolaise and I were having this day in London, and we turned the corner into Edgware Road, and I kid you not, the first the first thought that came to my mind was, oh, I have definitely arrived on Edgware Road because I'm getting the sorts of smells that I would expect on Edgware Road. And for those of you who don't know London and those don't know Edgware Road, what that means is that you get a lot of Arabian perfume cliche type scents coming at you, because it is a place where you get lots of Middle Eastern restaurants, lots of Middle Eastern inflected shops, lots of tourists from the Middle East like to stay there. This is why it's one of my favorite streets in London. And actually, we were going there for lunch, to have like a Lebanese meze. And I thought, oh, here we go. Here are all those familiar smells. And then suddenly I walked past this great big hoarding, this great big Creed installation. And I thought, yes, of course, this is the place that I was invited to for the Creed Carmina press night. But as I say, it was open to the public. So I asked the long-suffering Madame Persolaise if she wouldn't mind being even more long-suffering. She said, do you really want to go into a Creed thing? And I said, yes, of course, we need to check it out. So down we went. The exhibition space, I mean, this comes with a little bit of a caveat, I suppose, what I'm about to say, because I am something of a Philistine when it comes to modern art or modern aspirational, or the art that aspires to the modern. But I thought it was ridiculous. It was fascinating that this was being done for just 1 cent, because what it was 3 rooms in the basement of this space called Frameless. One of the rooms was vast. I mean, I have no idea how much money was paid by Creed or their owners or whoever to rent this space. One of the rooms was absolutely huge, and they basically, all of them had screen projections onto them. Some of the projections were directly onto the walls. Some of the projections were onto screens that were in the middle of the room, that were kind of forming a sort of labyrinth of screens. And it was all terribly, terribly pretentious. Lots of images of smoke wafting across the screens, the sound of lots and lots of heavy breathing, which Madame Persolaise decided was the sound of somebody yawning repeatedly, and this smell. And I came away with a sample, and I thought, well, clearly this has got to be the subject of our next review. But I have to say, this is not going to be an overly positive review, okay? And I also need to point out, for the sake of context, for those of you who may not be aware, although regular viewers will be more than well aware, but Creed is a house with which I have yet to be impressed. I don't think there is a single Creed that I have ever smelt that I have enjoyed. And actually, pretty much all Creeds start, from the word go. They fill me. They fill me with a very, very, very strong sense of repulsion. They fill me with the sense of being really, really crass, really cynical, really kind of exploitative and cheap and moronic. There have been Creed reviews on this channel over the years, but this is the first one that didn't actually make me run for the hills. Now, that is not to say that I think it's great or that I even particularly like it, but it did not make me start weeping. It did not make me start wanting to call out for my mummy. It did not make me, want to kind of bury myself in the ground. But what is interesting is that my initial response to it, when I didn't know that that's what I was smelling, when I just turned the corner into Edgware Road and then this smell came my way, my initial impression is what I stand by, because this feels like a kind of amalgamation of all of the loudest Arabian perfume cliches you can think of, done in a kind of faux Tom Ford style. And so you get frankincense, you get really, really loud, strident woods, you get, quite a bit of ambery wood in there. But I guess the clever twist that you get rose, of course, you get your obligatory salmon, salmon. Maybe we just need to start. Maybe I need to check the lighting and do this video again. You get the obligatory saffron, okay? Saffron is what I would say. I promise I'm not hungry. I haven't got dinner on my mind. You get saffron, all of those cliches. You can tick them off the list. Salmon would be different, Joe. Yeah, absolutely, you're right. Anyway, you get the obligatory saffron, and the kind of Tom Ford-esque twist is that you get black cherry. And this completely made me think of the recent Tom Ford cherry scents, things like cherry smoke or whatever the last one was called. What was the one called that I wasn't particularly fond of? Was it electric cherry or something? It's totally got that kind of feel to it. But yes, look, I'm smelling it here in front of you, and I'm not crying, and I'm not asking for help, but I'm also thinking, and it's the kind of thing that we've smelled lots and lots of times before. And then when you find out how much it is, I mean, isn't it something? Isn't it sort of in the region of nearly £300 for 75 mils or something like that? I will be very curious to find out what the pre-sprayed blotter is doing and what I think of it. But let's just see what the house itself says. Carmina Eau de Parfum is the latest strikingly modern amber floral women's fragrance from Creed. Sensuous rose de may and luxurious cashmere wood create an electric sensibility with the debut of plump black cherries and piquant pink pepper, warmed by the golden embrace of rare, let's just say salmon. With an intoxicating base of precious myrrh and frankincense, together with amber and smouldering musk. I'm not sure musk smoulders really, but anyway, this women's perfume is finely crafted with a powerful sillage that embodies the essence of feminine allure, imbued with a captivating charisma. And I think just the fact that press blurb, that the marketing blurb sounds so cliched, tells you everything you need to know. You've got your rose, you've got your cherries, you've got your saffron salmon, you've got your pink pepper, you've got your musks. It totally is all of those things put together. Do they identify the perfumer, says S. Omar? Not as far as I'm aware, they don't. It goes on, though, because it tells you who the inspiration is. I saw some of you saying that maybe the inspiration was Bloody Mary. Inspired by the haute couture fashion sketches of Henry Creed that were discovered within our original Paris maison, Carmina recreates the sumptuous swirls and undulating cascades of these virtuoso designs in an intoxicating new scent for... Oh, and then the rest of it is gone. Okay. Opening with the sultry seduction of plump black cherry and the soft spice of salmon, which bloom into the delicate femininity of exquisite rose de may, warmed by indulgent cashmere wood, cushioned by a sensual base composed of amber abroxa. Now, I'm sure there is a dangling participle there, because that sentence does not end. Opening with the sultry seduction. Yeah, that is not a sentence, but never mind. There's probably only about you and me and two other people that would bug. With a name that hints at the rich and decadent colors long associated with haute couture, Carmina is a shimmering evocation of the house's abiding connection to the world of fashion, and clad in a modern raspberry hue with flecks of muted rose. Yeah, maybe they need somebody to check their press releases out. Okay. So what can I say? I suppose based on everything that I've said to you so far, this must mean that this is the best Creed that I have ever smelt, right? I suppose you're starting from a low base. Where's the pre-sprayed one? Okay, here's the Creed. What's it doing now? Jeff says, in my country, Creed has become the perfume brand equivalent to what Burberry was in the 90s when chavs wore their clothes. Hasn't Creed been that brand for a while, though? Isaac says, hello from Hong Kong. The only Creed that I love is, Virgin Island Water. The rest are meh to me. Gavin says, I think they want the share of the market Delina has got. I think you may well be right. It has a very pinky bottle and Rococo Fragonard style marketing. They should have just gone with Bloody Mary, says Dog Meat. M says, I'm curious, does Madame Persolaise share your disdain for this house, or does she have a different opinion? I think probably she hasn't. I think she's just so influenced by my opinion on this one that I think she's probably just thought she doesn't want to smell a creed herself. We do not really have very many creeds in the Persolaise household. Rich Mitch says IFF must have a new cherry material they've recently developed. Well, you may well be right. Eric says, cracks me up that they're inspired by sketches, not actual dresses. Did they tape these sketches to the fridge? Right, let's smell the pre-sprayed one. Okay, Amber Woods. And you know what? Okay, the Cashmeran is coming through as well. I generally speaking, really, really like Cashmeran. I think it's overused. Again, those of you who don't know, that's essentially a kind of musk material that's been around for quite some time, very much beloved by Mathilde Laurent and, as it happens, Frederic Malle. And it does smell, it kind of smells velvety. It seems to have a very, very definite texture to it. But to me, it's also got a kind of spicy feel. It's very, very skin hugging, very, very cocoon-like. Mathilde Laurent uses it a lot in Déclaration d'un soir for Cartier. There's a massive dose of it in Dans tes bras by Maurice Roussel for Frederic Malle. You definitely do get it at the base here, but it feels overly familiar. It is an olfactory cliche, and also just too many amber woods. So what can I say? You know, I've been smelling it loads of times. I'm still not weeping. I'm still not doing that, wanting to go off on a rant thing. I could go off on a rant about the price, but then I could do that about new releases from lots and lots of brands. So there we go. Well done, Creed. You've given us another faux Arabian cliche. You aren't the market for this, Persolaise dear, says Gavin. You're absolutely right, and I think probably that is a good point at which to move on to a far more interesting brand. This is the brand Akro, the brand founded by Olivier Cresp and his daughter Anaïs. Regular viewers again will know that this channel is very, very, very fond of this brand. Each of the scents is inspired by, you know, a vice, a guilty pleasure. I think the brand used to say by an addiction, but they've sort of gone away from that terminology for, I suppose, for obvious reasons. I absolutely adore Smoke. Smoke remains, I think, my favorite from the brand. I really, really, really love Ink as well. I wore Ink endlessly last summer, but I like loads of them. I really like Night. Actually, I wore Night a lot this summer. I should do a video on the scents that I wore this summer. Really, really like Dark. And earlier this year, they did a kind of really classically Olivier Cresp gourmand called Bake, which was just this most amazing holographic lemon meringue, lemon drizzle type confection. Sharon says, I will say I really enjoy Akro's Bake. Bake is the only fragrance that probably actually makes my insulin rise, says Natalie. I know, it really, really does. This one, so this is their third scent this year, because they also did a Harrods exclusive just a couple of months ago called East, which, surprise, surprise, is mainly an oud scent. Haze is great and gets lots of compliments, ironically, says Eric. Yeah, it is interesting. This is their third one for the year, and I would imagine it's going to be their final one for the year. It's called Rise. Now, this one, I will say straight off, I've smelt before and I've actually worn once. It's not going to be one that I will personally be wearing, I don't think. But then, you know, you're not going to be personally loving every single thing from a brand. But I genuinely admire how it's made, and it's interesting because I wonder if it sort of marks a sort of mini trend of sorts that may be taking place at the moment. Because this is, let's just make a little bit more room. Let's pop that on here. This is a kind of, so the rise refers to the sun, the rising of the sun, and it's meant to be sunshine and holidays and sun cream and coconut and cocktails and all of that kind of jazz. Okay, so Jenna was saying, what's the vice addiction that inspired Rise? So it's to do with holidays and, you know, wanting to always be pleasure seeking and being lazy and relaxed, that kind of thing. And as I'm smelling it, I'm thinking, gosh, Olivier Cresp, when he has a clear and definite and very concrete image in his mind of what he is trying to reproduce olfactorily, he is second to none. Nobody, I think, can beat him in terms of conjuring a truly realistic, convincing scentscape. And you smell this, and you're absolutely there. You're there with that super coconutty feeling, buttery, biscuity sun cream. You're there with the herbs that go into the cocktail. You're there with the kind of citrusy feel that conjures the sun. It's very, very, very bright. It's very, very loud. And it's also got that sense of maybe the, kind of exotic fruit that might go into certain cocktails. So it's not fruity per se, but you get a suggestion maybe of things like mango, perhaps lime. It's Maudlin says, "What, that charming man, the next Akro gluten?" Oh, actually, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind smelling an Olivier Cresp perfume called gluten, but they'd have to go for a different. They could just call it like loaf. How about loaf? Or no, I don't think they do buns. That would be, yeah, maybe not buns. Loaf would be good. I think loaf would work. Pradeep says, "I haven't been really taken with a Cresp in some time. But what about smoke and ink and things like that?" Rachel is just reacting to buns. Mr. P, have you smelt the Harrods exclusive East? Yes, I have. I think it's worth trying because I don't think it's what you would necessarily be thinking that an Akro oud would be. It's a bit of a surprise. It's a lot quieter than you think it's going to be. And so where I was going as well, when a few minutes ago I said, is this marking a little bit of a mini trend? Because we've had Tutti Twilly from Hermès, the Christine Nagel scent, and we've had a Delta of Venus from Eris, composed by Antoine Lee, and now this one, which almost seemed to be collectively saying, listen, there is a kind of really, really cheap, crass, unconvincing, strident, screechy way of doing coconutty, fruity holiday notes, tropical cocktail notes, but there's also a convincing way of doing them. And the three of them, each of them do it in convincing and different ways. So if that appeals, then you absolutely need to try this. It lasts an age. It's got great sillage. It totally is what it is trying to be, or what it aims to be. I don't really have a blurb for it apart from just a couple of sentences. It says, "Inspired by a cold white wine on Primrose Hill, a jazz festival under the stars of Ealing Common, the chaos of Notting Hill Carnival, a gourmand fragrance for this season and beyond," which apparently is meant to be, containing a sort of pina colada accord, tiare flower, toffee, and cocoa, and apparently some oud in there as well. But maybe that's what's sort of giving it depth. I think that's what separates these scents from some of the other ones that are in a similar family, is that they've got, well, talking of depth, let's try the pre-sprayed one. So where is, no, that's not it. Where is there we go, Rise. Okay. Yeah, it's really, really well sustained, completely recognizable still, hasn't gone all thin and fallen apart. It's, I suppose, become that toffee note that they mention, shades of angel has come through, but because Cresp has also paid attention to the dry down and put something just a touch darker and more substantial there, weightier, it just makes it impossible for you to dismiss this as yet another bit of perfumery nonsense. You can detect the thought that has gone into it. The concept has been followed through, and I think that's all you can ask for a perfume. He must have had, he and his daughter must have had a very, very clear plan, intention in mind, and it works. I would be very, very happy to smell this on someone else, and I actually wonder if it would be interesting smelling it in colder weather, because I think that kind of cocoa toffee aspect of it would really, really bloom very well in the cold. What are folks saying here? Gavin says, it's interesting that no one really seems to go down the baking route with coconut, always seems to be the holiday route. No, that's interesting. So a kind of, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Or maybe somebody has, and I'm just not aware. Jen O says, does it smell similar to Etain Libre d'Orange, Fils de Dieu? No, because that's really so much about the steamed rice as well, and the lemongrass. That's a lot lighter. Ty says, I love both the sharp, haggard coconut fragrances and the modest, convincing coconut fragrances. I'll have to check this out. If you do, please let me know what you think of it. Hi, all from Hungary says, Banana Sloth. I just recently discovered the channel since trying to get a new signature fragrance. Was excited to join a stream. You're very, very welcome. Thank you very much for joining. And Eric says, I'm curious. It sounds like something my mother might like, actually. Well, let us know what she thinks as well. I think we can't all have fragrances that contain the notes and the kind of structures that we all like. I've always said there is a place for doing gourmands really, really well. There's a place for doing everything. There's a possibility for doing everything well and doing everything badly. And this does that kind of coconutty holiday cocktail gourmand really well. But then there's going to be not many people who can do it better than Olivier Cresp. Okay, we've done two. We need to move on to the third one. This is a brand. This is a brand that I think doesn't get enough attention. Roos Roos. Some of you will be aware. By the way, as a just a general aside, those of you who are watching from the beginning, we had our kind of lighting issue at the start. I'm kind of sort of seeing myself here and thinking, actually, has this malfunction done me a favor? And is this lighting a little bit better than it was at the start? I don't know. Does it seem less harsh, less cold? I don't know. Anyway. This brand, when it was launched, was called Dear Rose, co-founded by Chantal Ross, legendary creative director, because of whom we have scents like YSL Kouros, and I'm sure Jazz is one of those as well. And Chantal Ross and her daughter founded this brand. But I guess they very, very quickly realized that maybe if you have the word rose in your brand name, everybody thinks that every scent you release is going to be a rose scent. And so they changed it to Roos Roos. And this is a new one called Angelica Florae, composed by Nicolas Bonneville. And I haven't smelt this before. From this brand, I really, really like. My favorite from the brand is Mentha Religioso or Monta Religioso, which apparently is not available in the UK market because it didn't do very well. But I think is still part of the line overall. Really, really great licorice scent. And then I was also fond of one that Dominique Ropion did for them a couple of years ago called Pale Blue Eyes, which I did review on this channel because it felt to me like a really, really fascinating, striking sort of update of his own Dior Dune. But this is new to me. This is from their kind of other range that they've done of sort of herbal, more botanically inflected scents. I think this is a sub-range that started last year with 3 greenish scents. I'm guessing this is going to have an Angelica note, but as I say, I haven't smelt this apart from the pre-spray that I did, which I also sprayed and tried to put away straight away. So let us see. And somebody's saying, isn't the name pronounced Rose? Now I have it on fairly reliable authority that it's Ross, but could be wrong. What I do know is that it's not Roos. Okay. Anyway. It's ever so quiet, but interesting. But that could be because we've had 2 quite massive scents that we've started with. So the Creed and the Akro are not exactly wallflowers. But this feels the scent that it's immediately making me think of, but not because I'm thinking similar notes, but similar mood and feel, is from earlier this year, Diptyque's Le Papier by Fabrice Pellegrin, which is one of my favorite scents of the year so far, just because it knows how to be both a whisper and an object of interest, a focus of interest. This feels quite abstract so far. I mean, I wouldn't say that the Angelica is immediately obvious. It feels very, very quietly herbal, maybe a touch green, touch sort of herbal aromatic, something cedary, you know, that kind of pencil shavings feel. It's almost like brushing your fingers across some herbs that and just getting a faint touch of the scent on your hands. Very quiet, very ever so quiet. It is an EDP apparently. Let's see what the very, very, very brief blurb says. I haven't got much on this at all. Angelica is the herb of angels. Surprise, surprise. A green plant that brings with it an aura of benefits. Firmenish perfumer Nicolas Bonneville has embraced this spirit. The top notes combine Angelica seeds with star anise to create a fresh green fragrance. Yeah, okay, fresh and slightly green, but really quiet. A pink and black pepper duo takes over to create a floral heart sublimated by a jasmine absolute with iridescent facets. At the base, the haunting scent of Angelica seed rain is accentuated by patchouli, the vivacity of a green floral fragrance. I wonder if the brief was, I mean, you know, we do seem to be getting more and more and more quiet scents. We've talked about this on this channel already. There isn't a note that particularly you know, because so I wouldn't immediately have said patchouli. Let's go straight to the pre-sprayed one. Where's my Roos Roos one? Here we go. Now that in itself is fascinating because it doesn't seem to have changed very much since then, and you know, it doesn't seem to have gone any quieter. Because with something that starts off as quiet as this, there's a bit of me that's thinking, does that mean it will have completely vanished in 2 hours' time? But it hasn't. So that's curious. And is the base, if anything, the base is less green, maybe woodier. I still wouldn't necessarily have said patchouli, though, if I'm being completely honest. What else did they say was in the base? Jasmine, absolute. I don't know. Sounds like a Florae scent, says Christian. Yes, it's got that kind of hovering in the background, unassuming type feel. It's curious. It's curious. It's curious enough to make me want to kind of take it for a proper test drive to see what the experience of wearing it would actually be like. Maudlin says, sounds like the very clean and simple perfumes popular here in Denmark. Yeah, clean and simple is right, but just about enough there to make you want to kind of delve deeper and further to find out what's going on. Okay. Not necessarily what I was expecting. I think I was expecting things to be just a tiny bit more legible. But I guess what's interesting about it is that it is fairly abstract. But I also find myself having not a great deal to say to you about it. Because also there aren't terribly, you know, many facets for me to comment on. We shall see. We will have to, perhaps I'll wear this one tomorrow and then at some point do a little update on the blog about how it's done. Curious. Okay. I have got something else up my sleeve if we have time for when we finish doing the fourth one. Moving on then, this is from the Australian brand Grandiflora, a brand to which I have not been able to give a lot of attention in the last few years, partly because it's not easy getting samples from Australia. I know that for a while they were stocked, I think, at Fenwick in the UK. I don't know who their UK stockist is at the moment, or if they have one. When this brand started, the brand has started was founded by Saskia Havakis, who I believe is a very kind of, you know, knowledgeable and authoritative and experienced florist, and she has a flower shop in Australia. I'm kind of saying Australia as though it's like a town, but you know, a town in Australia. Maybe somebody will be able to tell me where in Australia. I don't want to say that it's Sydney in case it's not Sydney, because that would be a terrible kind of stereotypical thing to say as well. But boy, did she start her perfume brand with a splash, because she gave us a perfume, one by none other than Michel Rudnitska, and one by Sandrine Vidot, the late Sandrine Vidot. I mean, I still have the original bottles of those two. They're not released in those bottles anymore. I believe they're released in bottles like these, but they were both Magnolia, weren't they? Two different takes on Magnolia, and it was just so interesting that instead of just, you know, rather than choosing one of the Magnolias, she decided to release both of them, and she actually put the perfumer's name in the names of the perfumes. And just they're just stunning. I treasure those two bottles. Then I think there's at least one that she did with Bertrand Duchaufour, but then the brand sort of started going off my radar a little bit. And this is one from I think maybe 2 years ago, that was made. It's called Saskia, so it's named after herself. That was made by Christophe Laudamiel. Now again, this one I haven't smelled. I've just done my pre-sprayed blotter. This is what the bottles all look like now, I believe. They were really quite different before. Oh, and we've got a little booklet in here. It says, Saskia opened Grandiflora, a small flower shop that grew to embrace the world. Her dream to translate the enigma of flowers into perfume is a wish fulfilled. Oh, and it's got something about her and about Christophe Laudamiel, so maybe we can read about that in a sec. So I thought, okay, she's naming it after herself. I mean, on the strength of those perfumes that she started with, she's definitely got a very, very canny, very, very good nose. Let's just label the blotter. And of course, the fact that it's Laudamiel, excuse me, gosh, everything's going wrong today, is interesting too. So let's spray this. Because I like the fact that the name doesn't give anything away, although you think, okay, so is it going to be, you know, is it going to be the flower shop? Is it going to be Saskia herself in the form of a flower? Does that work if we do that? Yeah, that kind of works. Okay. Here we go. Ah, now that is interesting. Oh, gosh. Now, there is a lot going on here. So I feel, probably because of the association with the brand and with Saskia Havakis herself, I feel like I've walked into a really, really luxurious, beautiful flower shop. But it's interesting as well. I can almost like smell the plastic of some of the, like, you know, the sort of cellophane-y stuff that will be used to wrap the flowers. I feel like it's raining outside as I go in. It's a very, 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 very vivid image. I kind of think I'm getting tantalizing glimpses of certain flowers. So I'm thinking, am I getting lilies? Lots and lots of foliage, lots and lots of greenery, lots of stems. It's very, very tactile, and you can picture the thorns. And oh, Eric says, I think that was the brief going into her shop. Really? I genuinely, I didn't know that. Although, I mean, it makes sense. It makes complete sense. And the space is very, very bright. You know how I love it when connections like this happen in perfume, and I also do not love it that I'm not able to articulate and put into words what's happening in my head. Do you remember a few years ago, Jean-Claude Helena did Made for Hermès, Jour. Do I mean Jour? Yes, Jour d'Hermès, which I think is still around. I think some of its flankers are gone. And that was meant to be a kind of truly abstract floral bouquet. I suppose it was a little bit heavy on the gardenia, but it did feel like a kind of generally abstract floral bouquet. Helena is good at that, because he also did something like that with his iris for the Hermescence, the Iris Ukiyo-e, and then Eau de Narcisse Bleu for the cologne range, which is gone now apparently, as in that scent, not the cologne range. That did a similar kind of thing. This is very much in that vein, but I think the trick with these sorts of perfumes, the balance that the perfumer has got to try and pull off, is that you get enough specificity to really, really believe that you're in that space, that you're in that territory, but you also don't get so much specificity that you just home in on a particular note and you go, oh yes, this is a lily, or this is a, you know, this is a rose, or whatever. It stays in that kind of twilight zone between the specific and the concrete and the abstract. And that's what makes these sorts of scents truly, truly compelling and interesting and fascinating. That you can't pin them down. I think that's what you want. You know, from the really, really great perfumes, you come to the point of being able to understand them and pinning them down, and then suddenly something else comes along and you think, but I haven't got it entirely yet. Oh, Rachel says he used some interesting native Australian plants. I did not know this. Oh, and Rachel confirms that that was the idea of the scent. Yeah. Definitely going to be wearing this one soon. What can I tell you about it? Again, all I have is just a sort of bit of a public blurb, really. From first impact to long lingering afterglow, this fragrance is the interpretive essence of the Grandiflora store itself. Okay, perfect. Well, then they've done it. It reflects how it has been for Saskia Havakis, working her 25 years of floral magic, surrounded by both the enduring and the ever-shifting redolence of nature's most remarkable perfumes. The composer of this beautifully simple and intriguingly mysterious fragrance, that's good, actually, I like that, a beautifully simple and intriguingly mysterious, is Christophe Laudamiel, one of the world's renowned perfumers. He brings wit and an iconoclastic intellect to the practice. He champions truth and transparency with arguably an unsurpassed balance between its art and its science. And that's it, except for a list of notes. Ginger, pink pepper, violet leaf, Tasmanian myrtle, and water hyacinth in the top. Gardenia, a flower shop accord, very clever. Petrichor, see, I said it was raining. Ylang ylang in the heart, and in the base, Tasmanian Baronia leaves, Immortelle, oak moss, and some French mimosa. This is good stuff. This is quality stuff, I think. Well, actually, I don't know why I'm smelling this. Let's see what the dry down is doing. So this is the final one. Okay. What's really great is that that seemingly unforced, simple beauty of the florals isn't lost. So it hasn't become overly musky. It hasn't become overly woody. It's maintaining that freshness. And it's interesting they say oak moss in the base, because maybe that's the thing that's holding it all together, giving it the depth. This is impressive. This is really, really good. And it's got shade, because it's abstract and it's a floral and it's really, really beautifully balanced. It can't help but make you think of the sort of grand perfumes of this of the 70s, I suppose, maybe because of the green inflection. I shall look forward to wearing this one. Okay, so we've done our 4, but I only wanted to put 4 into this video today because I wanted to give a bit of time, a shout out for a brand that maybe some of you will be aware of. Keith says, smash that like button. Thank you very much. Yes, if you're enjoying this video, please give it a like, because that really, really helps with YouTube and helps with spreading the word. Remember my target. Well, I don't know what I'm going to do if I don't reach it, but I would like to be able to get to 20,000 subscribers before we get to the end of the year, and I'm not doing too badly. I think last time I checked, I've just gone over 19,100. So let's have lots and lots of likes. I think I mentioned in a recent video that we spent most of our summer in Sicily, on the island of Sicily, with which we completely and utterly fell in love and kind of thought, why haven't we been here before? And in a lot of the sort of touristy shops, there were lots of cheap and cheaper and cheapish perfumes being sold, same as wherever you go around the world. But of course, I smelt most of them. But there were a few, and it turned out they were all just from this one brand. That not only did I like, but I had to buy them. Now, this is a brand that was totally unknown to me. I did a tiny little bit of, very, very basic research on it. What did I manage to find out? It's a brand that apparently it is a Sicilian brand that was founded in 1943 in Palermo. And for all I know, many of you out there already know it. The brand is called, well, I suppose in Italian we pronounce this as Zuma. I don't know, but I guess most English-speaking people seeing that would just say Zuma, but it's probably Zuma. And they do these very, very simple cologne-like scents, EDTs. I didn't see all of them, but because, and I say I didn't see all of them because having gone onto their website, I see that there are actually quite a few. But in most of the shops that I went to, there were the things like the jasmines and the and your orange blossoms, but they were pretty good, really good actually. I bought several. I've brought 4 to show with you. So for instance, this is their jasmine cologne, so Acqua di Cologna Gelsomino. And so this, this, I'm going to put this on skin because it's pretty fleeting. One of the main smells that you get if you spend a summer in Sicily is the smell of jasmine. Really, really, you sort of keep walking past people's houses and buildings and the jasmine is scenting the air. And this is, I think, one of the best, one of the most convincing, simple soliflor type jasmines I've ever smelt. And for 30 mils, you have to pay the princely sum. This is actually the EDT. So for 30 mils of the EDT, look, you can still see the little tag there. It was 15 euros, 14.90 euros. And I thought, well, that's fair enough. And it's just so, there are so many jasmines out there that cost, I don't know, about 5 times as much as this and do not convince in any way, shape or form. But this was just felt so real. It made me think I was back in southern Iran, outside the house of my grandparents, because they had a jasmine growing there, and that is exactly the image that I also get when I smell Etain Libre d'Orange's Jasmine and Cigarettes, composed by Antoine Maisondieu. Their orange blossom, so their Colonia Zagara is really, really good as well. So let's have a spray of that. Clive Christian's jasmine oil for £1,000, says Woozy. I did not actually know that. Yeah, I mean, the jasmine, and I'm going to go straight to the bergamot. So this is their bergamotto. There were loads and loads of bergamots there from lots of different brands. Most of them were pretty poor. Most of them were the kind of thing that you would expect if you were paying 10 euros or 12 euros or whatever. Just tons and tons of dihydromercenol and really, really unconvincing citruses. But the bergamot, the bergamot completely makes you think like you've got the citrus fruit in front of you, and it's got that beautifully judged tea note. And the bergamot, and the combo of the bergamot and the orange blossom totally made me think of how the 4711 cologne used to be back in the day before it was reformulated. So I'm talking like maybe mid-80s, early 80s. It's just so good and so unassuming, so unpretentious, very, very, very simple, very attractive, basic packaging. You can see that those bottles there are pretty basic as well. The company, apparently, if you just go to zumashop.it, that's their website. But it looks as though they've got lots of things, because they've got not just the jasmine and the orange blossom, but they've also got a lemon. They've got something called natural. They've got a basil. They've got a salt cologne. I mean, that I would have loved to have smelled. There's one that they're calling blood. I wonder if that just means blood orange. So, if you're in Italy, see if you can seek them out. Certainly, if you're in Sicily, do not be swayed by the fact that these are in very, very, very kind of cheap and cheerful, tacky, touristy type shops. And I would spray this before we were going out, and Madame Persolaise would be saying, "What is that?" And I'd say, "That's the 13 euro thing I just picked up from the little tourist shop." As I say, I bought quite a few of these because I thought I want to be able to just kind of spray them liberally. And there is a kind of, so I showed you the jasmine eau de cologne. There is very definitely a difference between the jasmine cologne and the jasmine eau de toilette. The eau de toilette is sort of more substantial, but also equally convincing. Actually, we need to put them on here as well so that they can be seen. Let's pop a few of them on here. So do check them out. Yeah, I wonder if they'd ship to the UK, says Joe M68. Totally unrelated, and we will stop here. But I ordered something just the other day, the other week from France. You know, not perfume. It was clothes from a shop that I've ordered loads and loads of times before in the past. Parcel didn't arrive. So I contacted the seller, and I said, you know, what's going on? And they did a track, and they saw that the parcel had been stopped at customs, and they've said that over the course of the last few weeks, all of the parcels that they've been sending to the UK have been stopped at customs and then returned to them, and they don't know why, because as far as they're aware, they're doing everything that they're meant to be doing in terms of abiding by the customs regulations. So there we go. I don't know. Contact the brand directly, maybe, and actually ask them if they ship to the UK and whether they've had success with shipping to the UK. But a reason to go to Sicily. One of many, many reasons to go to Sicily. The bergamot and orange blossom combo was really, really great. Okay, we are done. Thank you very much for watching. Oh yeah, I was going to say there's going to be a blotter update. I need to get used to the fact that no, there's not going to be a blotter update. I also need to check out my lighting because I'm a little bit worried about what's happened with the ring light. But never mind. I think we can kind of work this. This isn't doing too badly. Stay tuned to social media for details of more videos coming your way. And until then, be good. Thank you so much for watching and for all the comments and all the laughs. I will see you soon. Bye now.